A person stands on a muddy road as a large road grader approaches. The operator fails to see them and drives directly over the individual. This highlights the critical danger of blind spots on heavy machinery. Operators must confirm a clear path. At a gas station, a man refuels a truck. Suddenly, a fireball erupts from the nozzle, engulfing him and the passenger. This is likely a static electricity discharge igniting fuel vapors. To prevent this, always touch a metal part of the car before fueling to discharge static, and never re-enter your vehicle during the process. Several men are in a yard, working on a pressurized blue barrel. One man leans over to make an adjustment. Without warning, the barrel violently explodes, launching him high into the air and sending shrapnel everywhere. This catastrophic failure is a brutal lesson in the dangers of pressurized containers. The cause could be a chemical reaction, overpressurization from heat, or a structural weakness. Never attempt to heat, cut, weld, or modify any sealed vessel without certified training and a complete understanding of its contents. The stored energy release is equivalent to a bomb, making any unqualified work a life-threatening gamble. A man dismounts his tractor at night, but it begins rolling forward. He desperately tries to climb back in, but slips and falls under the large rear wheel. Miraculously, he gets up and limps away. This is a critical reminder to always set the parking brake and, if on a slope, chock the wheels before exiting any heavy machinery. A runaway vehicle is an unstoppable force, and this operator was extremely lucky to survive his mistake. 3 workers inspect a machine. A woman wearing gloves reaches toward a moving part. Her glove is instantly caught, pulling her hand violently into the mechanism. This is a classic entanglement accident. Loose clothing, jewelry, and gloves can be extremely dangerous around rotating parts. This incident shows why machine guards must always be in place and why proper PPE protocols are vital. A man performs a heavy bench press in a Smith machine. His strength fails on the last rep, and he's unable to push the bar back up. The heavily loaded barbell slowly descends, pinning him by the neck against the bench. This is a terrifyingly common gym accident. When lifting near your limit, it is absolutely essential to use the safety catches or have a competent spotter. The safety mechanisms are there specifically to prevent a failed lift from becoming a fatal one. This lifter's failure to set them was a critical error. A worker uses a jackhammer to demolish a wall. The entire section he's cutting suddenly breaks loose and collapses directly on top of him. This shows a complete lack of safe demolition procedure. Inside an auto repair bay, a man walks in front of a small white truck. The driver, intending to move the vehicle, appears to mistake the pedals and suddenly accelerates forward, pinning the man against a concrete structure. Others immediately rush to push the truck back. This is a classic case of pedal confusion. In busy workshops where vehicles and pedestrians share space, strict safety measures are non-negotiable. This includes clearly marked pedestrian-only walkways, high visibility clothing, and the mandatory use of a spotter or banksman to guide vehicle movements in confined areas. A moment of inattention or error by the driver led to a devastating and entirely preventable crushing incident. In a large industrial facility, a worker is crouched on the floor. Unseen above, an overhead crane transports a massive stone block. Suddenly, the rigging fails, and the multi-ton block plummets directly onto the unsuspecting worker. This is a catastrophic failure of lifting safety. A cardinal rule of crane operation is to never allow personnel under a suspended load. The area must be cordoned off as a strict exclusion zone. Furthermore, all rigging must be inspected before each use and loads must be perfectly balanced. This tragedy was caused by a complete disregard for the most fundamental principles of overhead lifting. A man works on the back of a septic tanker truck, possibly trying to clear a blockage near a valve. Without any warning, the entire tank erupts in a massive, violent explosion. The blast obliterates the vehicle and hurls the worker through the air. This catastrophic event is a textbook example of a methane gas explosion. Organic waste in septic tanks decomposes and releases highly flammable methane. When this gas is mixed with air inside the tank, it creates a powerful explosive atmosphere. Any ignition source, a spark from a metal tool or static electricity, can trigger a detonation of this magnitude. This is why working on tanks that have held flammable materials requires extreme safety protocols, including purging the tank of all gases and using non-sparking tools. In a bakery, a worker pushes a rack of bread into a freight elevator. As they step away, the elevator car suddenly plummets down the shaft with the doors still open. This is a catastrophic mechanical failure, possibly due to a snapped cable or a faulty brake system. All elevators require rigorous, certified inspections and maintenance to ensure safety mechanisms are functional. In an underground mine, a group of workers gathers to board an elevator cage. As the first 4 workers step inside, the entire cage structure suddenly breaks free from its lift mechanism and plunges into the dark shaft below. This is a catastrophic structural or mechanical failure of the highest order. Mine elevators, or cages, are subjected to extreme stress and harsh environmental conditions, requiring an exceptionally high standard of maintenance, inspection, and operational oversight. Redundant safety systems are supposed to prevent exactly this type of free fall, pointing to a critical lapse in safety protocols. On a snowy construction site, a crane lowers a long metal beam. A worker on the ground is unable to control the swinging load and is struck violently, getting knocked off his feet. Guiding suspended loads by hand is extremely risky. The correct and safe procedure is to use tag lines, long ropes attached to the load, that allow workers to maneuver it from a safe distance, well outside the potential swing or drop zone. 2 movers attempt to load a tall, heavy appliance into a small van. Moving it on a dolly, the appliance becomes top-heavy and unstable. As they struggle to control it, it tips over, crushing one of the men against the side of the van. Moving tall, top-heavy objects is incredibly dangerous, as their high center of gravity makes them prone to tipping. For a load this size, more personnel or proper lifting equipment like a liftgate should have been used. They underestimated the instability, leading to a fatal crushing injury. A forklift operator turns into the path of a rickshaw. The forks pierce the vehicle, injuring the driver. A worker stands next to a tall, unstable stack of blocks, while a crane lowers another pallet nearby. The suspended load swings, hitting the stack and causing it to collapse onto the worker. This is a dual failure. Materials were stacked improperly, creating a hazard, and the worker was standing in a clear danger zone. Stacks must be stable and interlocked, and workers must never be positioned where they can be struck by moving loads or collapsing materials.